Okay, I'm going to start a new painting. This is the image that I'm going to do. It's my legs and my cat. And kind of the horrible beauty is kind of like the horrible uh, human being and beautiful animals, I guess. Also, it's a little bit about aging and the passage of time. Um, so that's my photo. I then basically drew the entire thing out. I'm using a really big sheet of paper here, so I lightly sketched everything out. As you can see, there's the cat over there, there's my legs over here, here is my palette on the side. I'm going to try and just focus right here on this knee right now. I'm going to try and do a little painting on that. Again, I'm going to start with maybe some burnt siennas and reds and a large wash brush. So on my palette, here's my burnt sienna, here's my reds. I'm just going to kind of use my burnt sienna here and start laying in some washes. Maybe this is the darker area on this side. Let me get a little bit darker. Oh, this is a crappy brush. Better brush. Get a better brush. Okay, so I don't mix my colors on my palette. I have them all pretty separate. I mean, sometimes I might mix a little bit, but basically I have all my colors separate, and I do my mixing on here. So basically I would go through my whole painting, and I'm using just a wet brush on dry paper. And I have a pencil line here, so that's an edge I want to keep pretty distinct. So you can see I'm running my brush along that edge because this is a distinct edge, but then on this side it's blending in, right? So where I want it to be distinct, I go right along that edge with a wet brush, dry paper, and then over here I want it to blend in. So now I'm just going to rinse my brush off in water like this, bring the water up and blend in this side with water. And again, I want to leave my white, so I'm gonna do this first leg with just one wash of burnt sienna to just start to get and figure out where my lights and darks are. Which again, my dark comes all the way over on my leg here into my knee. So I'm just kind of trying to get the basic shadows. I start very loose and light. This is also kind of a shadow right here, and then I just rinse my brush off. All this has is water on it now, and now with the water I'm just going to go up and soften my edges so I don't have a hard transition and I don't have a line. Because if I just let it dry, that'll stay like that, and I don't want that edge. So I have to go into it with water and smooth it out and make it a wash. So I'll be able to come back on later with more layers, but I will already have this kind of gradual transition from light to dark here because I've put this wash on top. I'll keep going this way a little bit more. And I'm looking at my picture as I go, since I'm working from the photograph. Now again, I'm keeping that edge hard, but this is going to be a soft transition, so now I just have water on my brush. I'm just going to soften this transition. And after this first layer, I would go back in and erase, I want it darker over here, erase my pencil lines, because it'll be light enough that the pencil will still be showing through, and I'll be able to go in and get rid of that. And again, normally I would go through the entire thing with just this, but just for this demo, I'm going to show you the second layer in just this area. So if I then wanted to make this a cooler color, because you can see in the shadow it's kind of greenish blues, right? Here's red, burnt sienna. So if I wanted to make that start to look more like a shadow, then I'm going to use a little of my indigo, and I'm going to start laying that indigo right on top. So again, when I put the indigo on top of the burnt sienna, it kind of greens it out a little bit, because it's kind of like orange and blue, right? It neutralizes the color, but it makes it a cool color. So this would be my second layer. And then again, same thing. I don't want this to be a harsh edge. I want this to be a soft transition. So I would bring my water up and blend it in. Of course, I'm saving my lights. But I'm immediately getting a shift in color by adding this second color on top. When I'm doing a watercolor, I might end up with anywhere from 10 to 20 different layers as I shift my color. In my knee, it's a little redder over here in this area. So again, I would be putting some reds on in this area to warm it up. Usually I would do this later in the second layer, but I'm going to put a little bit on right now just so you can kind of see the process. Blending it in. If you want things looser, you can, dab your water and dab your colors, and they kind of make little looser marks. If you want things tighter, then it's more about using your brush to move things around and blend. Add a little darks to here. So slowly this will start to transition. And this is Arches, and I'm using really heavy paper. It's like 400-pound paper. So it doesn't buckle or warble, but it's expensive paper. So I use it when I'm doing something I know I'm going to finish, and I really want it to come out well. But when I'm just kind of practicing and doing light sketches, then I would use a lighter watercolor paper. Okay, so that's just the first layer. I'll do some more and record it. I'll keep working on the leg, and then eventually I'll start working on the oranges over here and my cat. Okay?